So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually write an expository essay in real time. I have not yet written this essay, and so it may take some time. I'll put a timer up in the corner just so you can kind of see how long an expository essay might take you if you have adequately prepared and you fully understand the different parts of an expository essay itself. So this is obviously just going to be a basic expository essay. I'm sure many of you could do much better, and I'm sure that I could do much better as well if I actually had some time to be reflective and take my time as I write. But for our purposes today, I just want to show you the general idea of how to think through and write out an expository essay. So I'm going to entitle my essay COVID-19 pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, so I'm going to start off. If you see my outline here, I'm going to start off with some background information and just kind of hook my audience so they know what I'm talking about. So in early 2020, the world experienced a pandemic unlike any seen before. I think that's actually a true statement. The novel coronavirus quickly spread throughout Asia and made its way across the world to nearly every inhabited part of the planet. I don't know. Sounds bad, but whatever. Just trying to give some information here. So I feel like in order to really get them to understand what I'm saying here, I should probably define a pandemic and stuff like that. So here was some information that I can use. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm not actually going to paste it. I'm going to reword it for my purposes here. So the dictionary defines a pandemic as a disease that spreads across a country or throughout the entire world. The coronavirus is one such disease, also called SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. The coronavirus is a respiratory infection that affects people much like the flu. As the disease spreads across the planet, and now here I'm going to introduce my minor topics. So my minor topics are what is the coronavirus? It is important for people to understand what the virus is, consists of, what the virus is, how it is affecting the world, how the virus is affecting the world, and what people can do about it, and what people can do about it. All right, so at various parts throughout the writing of my essay, I like to go back and just reread what I've written just to make sure that it makes sense. I've covered all my bases. According to my outline that I created, I should have some background information, my thesis or my main topic clearly indicated, and then at least an introduction of 3 minor topics. So let's see if I did that. In early 2020, the world experienced a pandemic unlike any seen before. The novel coronavirus, which is going to be my thesis, just my main topic, quickly spread throughout Asia and made its way across the world to nearly every inhabited part of the planet. The dictionary defines a pandemic as a disease that spreads across a country or throughout the entire world. The coronavirus is one such disease, again indicating my thesis. Also called SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, the coronavirus is a respiratory infection that affects people much like the flu. So I've given enough background information, I think. As the disease spreads across the planet, it is, number one, important for people to understand what the virus is. Number two, understand how the virus is affecting the world. And number three, understand what people can do about it. All right, so let's write my first body paragraph. I'm just going to kind of glance over what I wrote. So I have some definitions. And so maybe I'll just start off with the definition of, this was good information. It's all good information. I'm actually just going to copy it all. And I'm going to bring it down here so I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth. So I can delete this now. And here we go. This is just information I gathered from my outline for my first article. All right, so let's see here. Many people have deemed the coronavirus a pandemic, a disease that is quickly overtaking the world. In Article 1, which was entitled, let me look at my notes here. Article 1, how to wash your hands properly. To wash your hands properly. The author begins by defining the difference between residential and transient bacteria. The author states, now in order to set up my direct quote, I'm going to set it up with a comma and quotation marks. And if it's not the beginning of my sentence, I'm going to use an ellipsis, which I'm going to do now, because I'm going to start right here. The author states, resident bacteria, which are rarely implicated in infection and are good for the skin, and transient bacteria, which we pick up on our fingertips when we touch surfaces. And that doesn't make sense. So the author explains that resident bacteria are, maybe I'll just summarize this. So the author explains that resident bacteria are what are typically found on human skin, and that transient bacteria are the ones that might be associated with coronavirus, ones that humans pick up on their fingertips when they touch surfaces. You'll notice that I'm changing we and my and us to objective third-person pronouns. Usually when writing a formal essay, it's best to stay objective, which means to use third-person pronouns, avoid using first-person like I, me, we, or second-person you pronouns. So, many people have deemed the coronavirus a pandemic, a disease that is quickly overtaking the world. In Article 1, How to Wash Your Hands Properly, the author begins by defining the difference between residential and transient bacteria. The author explains that resident bacteria are what are typically found on human skin, and that transient bacteria are the ones that might be associated with coronavirus, ones that humans pick up on their fingertips when they touch surfaces. Indeed, the coronavirus is known as a neurovirus, one that is contagious and attacks, and I'm just gathering this information from down here, attacks the host's body by rapidly replicating in the cells. So, for this paragraph, I haven't actually used a direct quote, although I did reference one of my sources. I think that it's okay that I haven't fully supported my ideas with evidence from the text, as a lot of my information is evidence-based. And here I kind of paraphrased the direct quote that I was originally going to use, and it just didn't fit in the way that I wanted it, so I paraphrased it. So let's leave it as is, and then maybe we'll come back later and add some information if need be. All right, so let's move on to our next body paragraph. The body paragraph that is about, I'm just going to copy this information again. It is about how the coronavirus is affecting the world. So let's see. In early 2020, the world experienced a pandemic unlike any seen before. The novel coronavirus quickly spread throughout Asia and made its way across the world to nearly every inhabited part of the planet. The dictionary defines a pandemic as a disease that spreads across a country or throughout the entire world. The coronavirus is one such disease, also called SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. The coronavirus is a respiratory infection that affects people, much like the flu. As the disease spreads across the planet, it is important for people to understand what the virus is, understand how the virus is affecting the world, and understand what people can do about it. Many people have deemed the coronavirus a pandemic, a disease that is quickly overtaking the world. In Article 1, How to Wash Your Hands Properly, the author begins by defining the difference between residential and transient bacteria. The author explains that resident bacteria are what are typically found on human skin, and that transient bacteria are the ones that might be associated with coronavirus, ones that humans pick up on their fingertips when they touch surfaces. Indeed, the coronavirus is known as a neurovirus, one that is contagious and attacks the host's body by rapidly replicating in the cells. As it spreads across the planet, people have become increasingly worried, and businesses, industries, and the vast majority of educational facilities have completely shut down. I feel like this sentence that I just added will be a nice little transition into my next body paragraph. And now that I'm actually working between my body paragraphs, it's going to be important that I have solid transitions. I know that a lot of you, for your transitions, you use words like first, second, third, or after, or next. And that's fine if you're like in first grade. For our purposes, you really want to kind of have a fluid transition of thought and idea. And so since this paragraph is talking about what the coronavirus is, and this paragraph is talking about how it's affecting the world, I want to try and make a smooth movement from one idea to the next. And so that's why I kind of added this sentence here. As it spreads across the planet, people become increasingly worried, and businesses, industries, and the vast majority of educational facilities have completely shut down. So, as I move into my third paragraph, my second body paragraph, like I was saying, I want to make sure that I have a solid transition moving from one idea to the next. As I indicated, a lot of students, they use first, second, third, next, after, and so forth as transitions, and they think that's good enough. But really, that's not how we speak, and also that's not how ideas flow. That's a little too choppy for secondary education. So what you want to do is you want to have sentences that flow from one idea to the next, and that's why I added this sentence at the end of the last paragraph. As it spreads across the planet, people have become increasingly worried, and businesses, industries, and the vast majority of educational facilities have completely shut down. So let's continue along with that thought. In the midst of the coronavirus, so I'm just coming back to my thesis, pandemic, and now my second minor topic is going to be how the coronavirus is affecting the world. Many businesses have completely shut down. I already said completely shut down. Many businesses and institutions have come to a dramatic halt. I can spell. All right. Schools in particular have been greatly affected. So now I have moved away from an overall introduction and definition of the coronavirus, and now I'm able to talk about not only how the world is being affected, but in particular and specifically how schools are being affected. In the second article, entitled "In South Korea, Coronavirus Gives Kids a Break from School, but also traps them inside," the author writes, on February 27th, this is where I'm going to be taking this information from, and I guess I can just copy and paste. Make sure that when you're copying and pasting, your formatting is all the same. And if you ever do need to format everything, or if you ever need to reformat something, you can always just wait till the end and just highlight your entire essay and then come up and format it all the same. So in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses and institutions have come to a dramatic halt. Schools in particular have been greatly affected. In the second article, entitled "In South Korea, Coronavirus Gives Kids a Break from School but Also Traps Them Inside," the author writes, on February 27th, Japan went even further than South Korea, closing schools nationwide through March because of the fast-spreading coronavirus. Now I want to cite the author, and the author for this, it was two authors, so it was Kim and Denyer were the authors. I'm going to do the and symbol here. All right. Let's see what other bits of information we had. The article further elaborates on the impact the virus has had on the educational community. Now, I kind of set up my direct quote here, so I'm just going to have my direct quote be a standalone sentence, and this is the sentence that I'm going to be gathering. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. That doesn't work. So I'll just write it. Children weren't allowed in classrooms unless they were wearing masks, and parents weren't allowed to attend the graduation ceremony. Again, that was by Kim and Denyer. Now, I probably want to say something. I don't want to just keep adding evidence. I don't want to keep adding information. I need to tie it all together with reasoning and logic and use of my own words, my own thought process. So in order to get that flow going, in order to see how I might tie everything together, again, what I want to do is I want to reread what I've written. I know that for a lot of my students, at least, they will just straight up write what they have in their minds, and they don't actually go back and see how it all fits together, and it comes out kind of choppy. But when I'm writing an essay, usually I will go back and reread the paragraph, if not the entire essay, multiple times. And by the end of having written the essay, I've probably read it probably around 10 to 20 times at least. So for my purposes now, I remember what I had written, so I'm just going to read what I have written in this third paragraph. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses and institutions have come to a dramatic halt. Schools in particular have been greatly affected. In the second article entitled In South Korea, Coronavirus Gives Kids a Break from School but Also Traps Them Inside, the author writes on February 27th, and then I have information about schools being impacted. However, so I want to also mention that it's not just the schools that's being affected, but also the idea of fear and how fear is impacting the world as well. However, the economy, schools, businesses, however, businesses and schools aren't the only aspects of society that have been affected. One of the most important impacts the spread of the coronavirus has had on the world is the rapid rise and spread of fear throughout society. In Article 3, which was entitled Fear about the Coronavirus is Normal, but Don't Let It Control You, the author noted that the coronavirus I'm looking at right here is scary, and that is in and of itself an issue. The author's last name was Meyerowitz. Cats. And I'm just going to start off with the author's last name again. There wasn't another W here. It's Meyerowitz. Meyerowitz. Katz goes on to note that humans aren't very good at dealing with fear. Gideon's a man, so I'm going to say he states the problem with scary things is that we, but now I don't want to say we because I want to try and stay objective here. So instead of writing we, I can actually take out that information and input my own information as long as it doesn't change the overall meaning or context of the direct quote, and I can write words that help my audience better understand what I'm saying. So the problem with scary things is that humans, I can put that in brackets as I add that information, nope, that's not it. Right here, humans aren't very good at reacting to, and then again, I'm going to write scary things because them might just be a little too ambiguous. The problem, I'm just going to continue that. We fear what we don't understand, and what we fear we seek to control. Again, that was from Meyerowitz. Cats. So you can see by adding sources of information as supporting evidence for what I'm saying, my paragraph is going to be increasingly bigger and more substantial than one where I'm just giving my own thoughts about the topic or perhaps paraphrasing information, and that's fine. But what I don't want to do is drone on and keep adding evidence to the point where it becomes tiresome and almost burdensome for the audience to keep reading what you've written. So I think this is probably a good amount of evidence. And what I want to do now, at least according to my outline, is after I have explained my minor topic and the information provided evidence, I want to make sure that I connect my ideas back to my thesis. And so that's what I'm going to do here. My thesis being not only coronavirus and the pandemic, but this paragraph also specifically being how it affects the businesses in the world, how the virus is affecting the world. So in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses and institutions have come to a dramatic halt. I'm going to skip forward. However, businesses and schools aren't the only aspects of society that have been affected. One of the most important impacts the spread of the coronavirus has had on the world is the rapid rise and spread of fear throughout society. In Article 3, Fear about the blah, 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 the author noted that the coronavirus is scary, and that is in and of itself an issue. Meyerowitz goes on to note that humans aren't very good at dealing with fear. He states, the problem with things is that humans aren't very good at reacting to scary things. We fear, I'm going to change that to humans, what they don't understand and what humans fear they seek to control. Now, my last body paragraph, I'm just going to delete this for now. Well, the last body paragraph talks a little bit about the panic buying, right? Or did it not? What people can do about it. So I'm going to try and transition and say people should not be panic buying, but rather taking precautionary measures, preventative measures. So how will I do that? So let's see. Throughout this phase of fear, humans often panic buy products they don't immediately need. Stockpiling products such as hand sanitizer and toilet paper creates shortages throughout society, which in turn creates more fear, thus perpetuating a state of chaos and panic throughout the world's populations. So now I'm going to start my next paragraph and just kind of flow and continue with that idea. If due to the rise in panic buying, the World Health Organization, I think that's all capitalized, World Health Organization has provided several guidelines for preventative and precautionary measures that people should take rather than inculcating the masses with fear and hysteria. Inculcating meaning with rather than indoctrinating, putting into, forcing into, or spreading throughout. So my last body paragraph was about what is happening because of the coronavirus, and again, it probably could have been explained a little more thoroughly and also clearly. And I'll note that if there should be any changes as I go back and reread later on. But just because I had the idea, I wanted to continue to flow with it, because my last body paragraph is going to be about what we should do, what people can do about it. And so if we were ending with what people are doing about it, and that's stockpiling unnecessary products, we can now move into our last idea, which is that it's rather than stockpiling products and creating shortages, we should be taking preventative measurements. So let me get rid of this information, and we will move into our last body paragraph. So what should people do? All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste this because it'll help me without having to scroll back and forth. Due to the rise of panic buying, the World Health Organization has provided several guidelines for preventative and precautionary measures that people should take rather than inculcating the masses with fear, rather than, I don't like the word inculcate now, rather than adding to the fear and hysteria spreading throughout the masses. There we go. All right. In Article 3, I've already mentioned the article's title, so I don't need to do that again. But I will mention the author's last name, and the author's last name was Meyerowitz. Katz noted that the coronavirus is scary. He urges people to take a deep breath. Remember that pandemic describes a disease's spread, not its severity, and keep an eye on the news. Other than that, what people can do to maintain their safety and sanity is take precautionary measures. And that's kind of what this paragraph is going to be about. Article 3 also notes that it is important for, and I'm just going to kind of summarize and paraphrase these a little bit, people who are feeling unwell to stay at home. If, I'm going to stay objective here, so if people are sick, they should cover their mouths when they cough and cover their noses when they sneeze. They should seek medical attention early on and avoid touching their faces or coming into, I'm adding this with, just because it's everywhere, so I know a little bit about it, or coming into contact with others. When at all possible, people should wash their hands, which is detailed in a step-by-step instruction in Article 1 in Article 1. So this colon here is just going to kind of provide further details and examples to what I'm talking about. So get hands wet, rub palms together, create a lather, rinse, and dry. So according to my introductory paragraph, there were 3 tasks that I had, and those tasks were to explain how the virus is affecting the world, explain what the virus is, explain how the virus is affecting the world, and understand what people can do about it. So we're in the what can people do about it paragraph. Let's see if we have covered enough information to kind of cover that minor topic thoroughly enough for our purposes today. So, due to the rise in panic buying, the World Health Organization has provided several guidelines for preventative and precautionary measures that people should take rather than adding to the fear and hysteria spreading throughout the masses. In Article 3, Meyerowitz-Katz noted that the coronavirus is scary. He urges people to take a deep breath and blah, blah, blah. Other than that, people can do these things. So let's come to a close here. Let's see what else we have. Overall, it's important for people to not panic, but rather remain calm and educated about whatever it is that is plaguing their minds or the world that day. Meyerowitz-Katz ends by saying, Meyerowitz ends by saying, ends by begging his audience not to let fear control them. If fear does take over, then people will stop thinking logically, and that could be the biggest threat to the world as we know it. I'm going to save that for now because I haven't saved yet. So you can see here that we've actually written quite a detailed and extensive essay in a short amount of time. The way that I was able to do that is by, again, gathering up my information and sources earlier on, creating a solid outline, and then putting the information from that outline strategically into my essay. So I'm not finished writing the essay yet. I do have one final paragraph, and for my final paragraph always I like to start it off with, in conclusion, COVID-19 or the coronavirus is a pandemic quickly spreading across the world, like throughout the world. No matter where people are located, and I'm going to restate my minor topics, it is important for them to know, to become educated on the topic at hand, understanding what is a pandemic and what is the coronavirus. I'm just looking at my minor topics here. Understanding and is the coronavirus. It's important for people to recognize how a pandemic can not only affect the world and its industries, but also the individuals within it, and it is important for people to know how to protect themselves as best as possible from threats of disease, so that everyone can overcome this momentary fear and begin rebuilding and begin where they left off only several months ago. All right, so I want to always end my essay with a powerful universal statement, one that relates to my topic, but also is just kind of insightful, one that kind of brings everything together. And so I think that the way that I want to end this is, again, by reiterating the fact that it's important not to let fear control you. There are many measures people can take to remain safe and healthy. Above all, it is important for the people of planet Earth to remain calm in the face of fear, and to not let fear dictate how they live their lives. All right, let's see what we've written. The COVID-19 pandemic. In early 2020, the world experienced a pandemic unlike any seen before. The novel coronavirus quickly spread throughout Asia and made its way across the world to nearly every inhabited part of the planet. The dictionary defines a pandemic as a disease that spreads across a country or throughout the entire world. The coronavirus is one such disease. Also called SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, the coronavirus is a respiratory infection that affects people much like the flu. As the disease spreads across the planet, it is important for people to understand what the virus is, understand how the virus is affecting the world, and understand what people can do about it. Many people have deemed the coronavirus a pandemic, a disease that is quickly overtaking the world. In Article 1, How to Wash Your Hands Properly, the author begins by defining the difference between residential and transient bacteria. The author explains that resident bacteria are what are typically found on human skin, and that transient bacteria are the ones that might be associated with coronavirus, ones that humans pick up on their fingertips when they touch surfaces. Maybe infected surfaces? Sounds a little more extreme. Indeed, the coronavirus is known as a neurovirus, one that is contagious and attacks the host body by rapidly replicating within the cells. As it spreads across the planet, people have become increasingly worried, and businesses, industries, and the vast majority of educational facilities have completely shut down. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, many businesses and institutions have come to a dramatic halt. Schools in particular have been greatly affected. In the second article, entitled In South Korea, Coronavirus Gives Kids a Break from the School but Also Traps Them Inside, the author writes, on February 27th, Japan went even further than South Korea, closing schools nationwide through March because of the fast-spreading coronavirus. The article further elaborates on the impact the virus has had on the educational community. Children weren't allowed in classrooms unless they were wearing masks, and parents weren't allowed to attend the graduation ceremony. However, businesses and schools aren't the only aspects of society that have been affected. One of the most important impacts the spread of the coronavirus has had on the world is the rapid rise and spread of fear throughout society. In Article 3, fear about the coronavirus is normal, but don't let it control you. The author noted that the coronavirus is scary, and that is in and of itself an issue. Meyerowitz-Katz goes on to note that humans aren't very good at dealing with fear. He states, "The problem with scary things is that humans aren't very good at reacting to scary things. Humans fear what they don't understand, and what humans fear, they seek to control." Throughout this phase of fear, humans often panic buy products they don't immediately need. Stockpiling products such as hand sanitizer and toilet paper creates shortages throughout society, which in turn creates more fear, thus perpetuating a state of chaos and panic throughout the world's populations. Due to the rise in panic buying, the World Health Organization has provided several guidelines for preventative and precautionary measures that people should take rather than adding to the fear and hysteria spreading throughout the masses. In Article 3, Meyerowitz-Katz noted that the coronavirus is scary. He urges people to take a deep breath, remember that pandemic describes a disease's spread, not its severity, and keep an eye on the news. Other than that, what people can do to maintain their safety and sanity is take precautionary measures. Article 3 also notes that it is important for people who are feeling unwell to stay at home. If people are sick, they should cover their mouths when they cough and cover their noses when they sneeze. They should seek medical attention early on and avoid touching their faces or coming into contact with others. When at all possible, people should wash their hands, which is detailed in a step-by-step instruction in instructional process in Article 1. Get hands wet, rub palms together, create lather, rinse, and dry. Overall, it's important for people to not panic, but rather remain calm and educated about whatever it is that is plaguing their minds or the world that day. Meyerowitz-Katz ends by begging his audience not to let fear control them. If fear does take over, then people will stop thinking logically, and that would be the biggest threat to the world as we know it. In conclusion, COVID-19, or the coronavirus, is a pandemic quickly spreading throughout the world. No matter where people are located, it is important for them to become educated on the topic at hand, understand what is a pandemic and what is the coronavirus. It's important for people to recognize how a pandemic can not only affect the world and its industries, but also the individuals within it. And it is important for people to know how to protect themselves as best as possible from threats of disease so that everyone can overcome this momentary fear and begin where they left off only several months ago. There are many measures people can take to remain safe and healthy. Above all, though, it is important for the people of planet Earth to remain calm in the face of fear and to not let fear dictate how they live their lives. So I think this is a pretty solid expository essay. What we've done here is we have an introductory paragraph, 3 body paragraphs kind of revealing the details and answering different questions we might have about our thesis, which is COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and then concluding the information by summarizing what we've written and just bringing everything to a final close with a universal statement. In my next video, I'll be showing you how to change this information from an expository essay into an argumentative essay. We'll be answering the question, should people be scared of the coronavirus? And we'll be using much of the same information that I've gathered for this essay today. For now, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, beautiful day.